The boy lived in a small neighborhood where the houses stood close together, yet people seemed far apart. At just 12 years old, he had already learned how to blend into the background. He was not loud, not demanding, and rarely the kind of child who drew attention. Teachers often forgot his name during roll call. Classmates overlooked him when choosing teams, and even in his own home, he sometimes felt more like a shadow than a presence. His mother loved him dearly, but she worked long hours, her face often tired, her words brief and practical. He carried with him a quiet longing that he could not name. It wasn't for toys or treats, but for a simple assurance that his existence meant something to the people around him. When he looked at the world, it seemed filled with rushing feet and distracted eyes, neighbors passing each other without a glance, each absorbed in their own burdens. Kindness to him felt like a flower that had been buried under layers of concrete, beautiful but almost forgotten. Often, he would sit on the steps outside their small apartment after school, watching the rhythm of the street. Delivery vans came and went. Men hurried home with briefcases. Children tugged on their mothers' coats. Everyone seemed busy, carrying invisible loads he could not see. He wondered if anyone ever noticed how heavy life could be for someone else. The boy himself was not without weight. He carried the ache of being invisible, the silent question of whether he mattered in a world that seemed too loud to hear him. Sometimes he thought about speaking up, trying to do something that might make people pause, but fear always tugged him back. What if no one cared? What if his small attempts were brushed aside like dust? Yet, even with these doubts, he had a habit of noticing what others did not. A stray dog limping near the alley, a flower pushing through a crack in the sidewalk, the way an old man on the corner sat for hours, with his eyes lowered, as if waiting for someone to speak to him. These little things lingered with the boy, pulling at his heart, though he often felt powerless to act. He had no way of knowing that his question was about to be answered. The evening air carried with it the faint scent of bread from the bakery at the corner. The boy's eyes drifted down the street, where the slow figure of an elderly woman appeared. She moved cautiously, her back slightly bent, both arms wrapped around two heavy bags of groceries that looked far too large for her frail frame. Her steps were uneven, each one a struggle, and the weight of the bags seemed to pull her lower with every pace. The boy held the grocery bag tightly as they reached the woman's small home. Its paint faded, its porch steps worn by years of weather. She paused at the door and turned to him. Her eyes, though tired, seemed to carry a depth that drew him in. She studied his face for a long moment, and then she smiled a smile that was not hurried, not distracted, but full and real. "You have no idea what this means to me," she said softly. Her voice trembled, not from weakness, but from something heavier, something that had been waiting for release. "Most days I carry these bags alone, and I wonder if anyone even sees me anymore. But today, you saw me." Her words struck the boy deeper than he expected. He had always felt invisible, as though he were the unnoticed one. Yet here was someone telling him that he had been the one to notice, the one to step forward when no one else did. For the first time, the ache in his chest loosened, replaced by something warmer, lighter, something like belonging. He stood quietly, unsure of how to respond. His instinct was to shrug it off, to say it was nothing. But her gaze held him, steady and kind, and in that gaze he felt a truth that needed no explanation. The woman placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Kindness doesn't have to be asked for. It's strongest when it comes freely, just as you gave it today. Don't ever think your small actions don't matter. They matter more than most people realize." The boy's throat tightened. He nodded, unable to find words. As he handed her the last bag, he felt as though he had been given something in returns. He couldn't carry in his hands, but would hold in his heart. When he turned to walk back home, the streets seemed different. The same houses stood there, the same cars hummed by, but the weight he had carried inside him felt lighter, as if a hidden chain had been loosened. He realized that the question he had been asking himself, that quiet, painful doubt of whether he mattered, had been answered, not with applause or recognition, but with a smile and a few honest words. He understood then that kindness was not measured by how many people noticed it, nor by whether it was remembered. Its power lived in the moment it was given, in the space it created between two souls, however briefly, and in that space, he discovered something he had long been searching for, the quiet assurance that he was seen, that he was capable of making the world softer, even if only for one person at a time. As he reached his doorstep, the boy carried no groceries. But he bore something far greater. Heart awakened to the truth that kindness, no matter how small, changes everything. If this story touched your heart, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so that more stories like this can find their way to you and others who need them. Together, we can keep spreading these reminders of hope and kindness.